Close your eyes and imagine the clock hands freezing in place. Everything stops, except something doesn't. Somewhere beyond the edge of your awareness, the history of 1,000 civilizations is still moving quietly, exhaling into the silence between the stars. You are no longer lying in a room. You are drifting along the shoreline of eternity, where the dust of forgotten kings meets the cold, distant glow of nebulae. And tonight, time is no longer something you follow. It is something you are about to enter. Before we travel back to the moment the first star ignited, notice how the world beneath you begins to fade. Not disappear, just loosen its grip. Because this is not a journey of dates or battles. This is something older, a history written in silence, in light and shadow, in the slow turning of things that never needed to hurry. As we drift past the giants of our solar system and further still into the quiet myths carried by ancient minds, you may begin to feel it. A rhythm, soft, repeating, almost forgotten. Every word you hear slows it down. Every breath you take draws you deeper. Here stories are not told. They surround you. Like a blanket made of time itself, you are safe here, held gently between the vastness of what has been and the stillness of what no longer needs to be understood. And as the blue glow of Earth fades into memory, the great, silent gates of history begin to open. Not all at once, but just enough for you to step through. And finally, rest. As you drift further from the shore of the present moment, the atmosphere around you begins to thicken with a peculiar kind of peace. It is the weight of centuries, pressing gently against your skin, like the warmth of a sun set 1,000 years ago. You are moving now, not through physical space, but through the very fabric of memory. The modern world, with its buzzing lights, its urgent notifications, and its restless energy, is becoming a pale, flickering candle behind you. Soon, even that light will vanish, replaced by the deep, velvet indigo of the cosmic night. Look around you in this space of mind. You find yourself inside a sanctuary built of thought and starlight. It is an observatory that exists at the crossroads of every era. The walls are made of dark, polished obsidian, reflecting the slow dance of galaxies outside the crystalline dome above. There is no sound here, only the low, comforting hum of the universe's machinery, a sound so deep and steady that it feels like the heartbeat of existence itself. On the shelves of this sanctuary sit infinite volumes of stories, their spines gilded with the dust of fallen empires and the dreams of astronomers who have long since returned to the Earth. But tonight, we will not open these books with our hands. We will let their contents spill out into the air, turning into mist, into light, into the very air you breathe. You are safe in this vessel. This is your safe haven, a fortress of tranquility where the arrows of time cannot reach you. Within these walls, the past is not a ghost. It is a living, breathing landscape, waiting for you to walk through its valleys. Feel the texture of the air change. It becomes crisp, carrying the scent of ancient pine forests and the metallic tang of meteorites that have traveled for billions of years just to be here with you. Every atom in your body was once forged in the heart of a dying star. To look back into history is not to look away from yourself, but to look deeper within. You are a passenger on a journey that began long before your first breath, and it will continue long after your last. But for now, there is no before, and there is no after. There is only this slow, majestic unfolding. Can you hear it? The faint, melodic resonance of the celestial spheres. It is the music that Pythagoras once dreamed of, a harmony so perfect that the human ear can only perceive it in the deepest state of relaxation. Let that harmony wash over you now. Let it dissolve the boundaries of your physical form until you are nothing but a consciousness, floating in the amber glow of the great library of time. As we prepare to leave this sanctuary and step into the first chapter of our voyage, take a moment to acknowledge the stillness you have found. This stillness is your anchor. No matter how far we travel to the searing plains of Mercury or the icy rings of Saturn, this peace will remain with you. You are about to realize that history is not a line, but a circle. And in this circle, every ending is just a quiet place to lay your head. The lights of the observatory begin to dim, turning into a soft, golden embers. The darkness outside the dome is no longer empty. It is full of invitation. The stars are leaning in, whispering the secrets they have kept since the beginning of the world. The journey begins not with a bang, but with a whisper. As we turn our gaze toward the very first spark of light that dared to break the eternal dark. And as we move toward that light, feel your body sinking even deeper, ready to witness the birth of everything. Now, within the silent walls of your obsidian sanctuary, let us begin the ritual of grounding. Even as your consciousness prepares to soar, your physical form remains anchored to the earth, a vessel that deserves this profound stillness. Shift your focus to the breath, not the hurried breath of the daytime world, but the slow tidal pull of the deep ocean. Breathe in the cool, silver mist of this observatory, letting it fill your lungs like the quiet expansion of a nebula. Hold it for a heartbeat, feeling the stillness at the center of your being, and then let it go. With that exhale, imagine the last threads of the day dissolving into the dark floor beneath you. You are becoming a part of the silence. Bring your awareness to the crown of your head. Imagine a soft amber warmth, like the glow of a dying star, touching your brow. It smooths away the lines of thought, the traces of worry, and the weight of doing. This warmth moves down through your jaw, letting it unclasp and flows into your neck. Feel the heavy, supportive pressure of your pillow, as if it were a cloud designed specifically to hold the history of your dream. Your shoulders, which have carried the invisible burdens of the hours, now drop. They melt into the fabric of your bed, surrendering to the law of gravity that governs every moon and every grain of sand. As you sink deeper, visualize the safe haven we have created. Your vessel is small, intimate, and reinforced by the wisdom of ages. The air here is perfect, neither warm nor cold, carrying the faint, nostalgic scent of rain on ancient stone and dried lavender. You are wrapped in a weightless quilt woven from the silk of stardust. It is a barrier that no stress can penetrate. A cocoon where time has no authority. Outside the glass dome, the cosmos continues its slow, majestic rotation. But inside, you are in the eye of the storm, the point of absolute peace. Notice the pulse in your fingertips. It is the same rhythm that drives the pulsar in the heart of the Crab Nebula. You are not separate from the history we are about to witness. You are the result of it. Your heartbeat is a drum that has been beating since the dawn of the first suns. Feel that connection now, the profound safety of being a small but essential piece of an infinite puzzle. There is nothing you need to solve, nothing you need to remember, and nothing you need to fear. The universe is vast, but in this moment, it is as intimate as the space between two heartbeats. You are drifting now, the boundaries of your body softening until you are like smoke in a quiet room. The floor of the observatory seems to fall away, replaced by a gentle, buoyant lift. You are floating within the safety of your sanctuary, moving toward the great glass lens that looks out into the deep past. The stars are no longer distant points of light. They are lanterns guiding you home. Your breathing has become so shallow, so effortless, that it feels as though the universe itself is breathing for you. You begin to understand that to let go is not to lose yourself, but to finally return to the vastness from which you came. Even as we prepare to leave the familiar behind, feel the solid comfort of your bed once more. It is your tether, your constant, a piece of the earth that will wait for you while your mind wanders through the corridors of time. You are cocooned in safety, held by the silence, and ready to see the world as the first eyes ever saw it. The amber glow of the observatory fades into a deep, celestial blue. And as the silence deepens, we turn our gaze toward the horizon of the ancient world, where the very first stories were written by the light of a flickering fire. The transition is so seamless that you do not feel the movement, only the change in the light. The obsidian walls of your sanctuary seem to dissolve into a thin, translucent veil, and suddenly you are suspended in the open theater of the void. Below you, the earth is no longer a world of borders and noise. It is a solitary sapphire marble, glowing with a fragile, ethereal light against the absolute ink of the cosmos. From this height, the history of humanity looks like a soft, flickering heartbeat. You see the faint luminescence of cities, like clusters of fallen stars, clinging to the dark curves of the continents. But as we drift further back, those lights begin to wink out, one by one, retreating into the velvet embrace of a younger, quieter world. The silence here is profound. It is a weightless, ancient silence that hasn't been broken since the stars were born. You are floating in the portal of perspective, where the petty concerns of a single day are swallowed by the majesty of eon. Look toward the horizon of the planet. Notice the thin, glowing ribbon of the atmosphere, a delicate veil of turquoise and gold that separates the vibrant dance of life from the eternal stillness of the vacuum. This is the threshold where history begins to breathe. You can almost feel the collective memory of every soul that has ever looked up from that blue surface, wondering about the same darkness you are currently drifting through. As you linger in this state of awe, the sensation of floating becomes a gentle, rhythmic rocking, as if the universe itself is a vast, dark cradle. The colors of the earth begin to shift, turning from the vibrant blues of the present into the sepia and charcoal of the deep past. You are witnessing the great retreat of time. The oceans shift their shapes, the forests expand across the land, and the air becomes charged with the raw, primal energy of a world that has not yet been named. You are safe in this immersion, protected by the transparency of your vessel, a silent ghost haunting the edges of the beginning. The scale of what you see is breathtaking, yet it does not overwhelm you. Instead, it brings a sense of deep cosmic relief. In the face of such vastness, you are allowed to be small. You are allowed to let go of the burden of being. You are simply a witness, a point of consciousness suspended in a sea of indigo possibilities. The light of the sun, reflecting off the distant moon, casts long silver shadows across your path, guiding you away from the familiar and toward the mysteries that have waited for billions of years to be told. You realize that every person you have ever loved, every story you have ever heard, and every dream you have ever had is a part of this singular, glowing sphere. And yet, there is so much more waiting in the shadows beyond. Take one last look at the blue marble as it begins to shrink, becoming a tiny, brilliant spark in the distance. Feel the warmth of your bed once more, the physical anchor that allows your spirit to drift so far without fear. You are grounded in the present, even as you immerse yourself in the infinite past. The silence is your companion, and the dark is your friend. The sapphire glow of the earth finally settles into a single point of light, indistinguishable from the stars. As we steer our vessel toward the dawn of human wonder where the first shadows were cast upon cave walls by the flickering light of a fire that burned for the very first time. The sapphire spark of the modern world has vanished now, eclipsed by a darkness so pure it feels like velvet against your mind. We have drifted back tens of thousands of years to a time when the night was not a backdrop, but a living, breathing deity. You find yourself hovering just above the jagged silhouette of a limestone cliff in southern Europe. Below, a small fire flickers at the mouth of a deep cave, its orange light dancing against the cold stone. This is the dawn of human wonder. For the people huddled around that flame, The stars were not balls of gas or distant suns. They were the white campfires of ancestors, the silver tracks of celestial hunters, and the eternal keepers of time. As you watch, a solitary figure steps out from the shadows of the cave and looks upward. Feel the profound silence of this moment. There are no machines, no satellites, no artificial glow, only the raw, overwhelming brilliance of a Milky Way, so thick it looks like a river of spilled milk pouring across the heavens. The observer is still, his breath misting in the cool night air. In his eyes, you see the birth of history. He is beginning to notice the patterns, how the Great Bear circles the pole, how the rising of a certain cluster signals the return of the deer or the ripening of the fruit. To him, the sky is a map of survival and a cathedral of dreams. We float closer, passing through the stone walls of the cavern. On the damp, uneven surface, the flickering firelight reveals paintings of bison, horses and stags, their forms captured in ochre and charcoal. But look higher, near the ceiling. There, among the animals, are small clusters of dots, the Pleiades, the belt of Orion. Even here, in the infancy of our species, we were already reaching out, trying to tether our small lives to the infinite cycles of the stars. You are witnessing the first heartbeat of science and myth, intertwined in the dark. You feel a deep, grounding sense of belonging. The DNA in your own cells carries the memory of this man's awe. You are the continuation of his gaze. The vessel of your consciousness remains perfectly still, a silent witness to this ancient communion between the earth and the sky. The air in the cave smells of wood smoke and earth, a scent that speaks of safety and the beginning of all things. You are tucked away in the folds of time, protected by the distance of millennia, yet connected by the same starlight that reaches down to touch your closed eyelids tonight. History is not just a collection of facts. It is the long, slow exhale of humanity trying to find its place among the giants. Even as the firelight dims, notice how the darkness of the cave doesn't feel cold. It feels like a cradle. You are safe here, hidden in the shadows of the past where no modern worry can find you. The rhythmic dripping of water deep within the cavern echoes the steady, slow beat of your own heart. Every breath you take is synchronized with the quiet pulse of this ancient earth. You are held. You are protected. You are home, even thousands of years from where you started. The fire at the cave entrance begins to burn low, turning into glowing embers that mirror the stars above. As the last hunter retreats into the warmth of the earth to sleep, we lift our gaze once more, rising through the cool night air and toward the inner circle of the heavens, where a small, scorched world waits in the shadow of the sun. We leave the flickering embers of the ancient cave behind, rising through the cool, thinning air of Earth until the atmosphere dissolves into the absolute, silent black of the inner solar system. Our vessel glides inward, drawn toward the blinding heart of our neighborhood, the sun. As we approach the first kingdom of the stars, a small, battle-scarred world emerges from the solar glare. This is Mercury. To the ancients, he was the fleet-footed messenger, the god of travelers and thieves, moving so quickly across the twilight sky that he seemed to vanish as soon as he was noticed. In the Sumerian tablets of 4,000 years ago, he was Enki, the god of wisdom. To the Greeks, he was Hermes, the winged soul guide who could traverse the boundary between the living and the dead. As you look through the crystalline dome of your vessel, you see a world that has been forged in fire and tempered in shadows. Mercury has no atmosphere to soften the sun's touch, no blanket of clouds to hold the warmth. It is a land of impossible extremes. On the side facing the sun, the surface reaches temperatures that would melt lead, a landscape of shimmering, molten heat. But just a few miles away, in the craters that never see the light, it is colder than the deepest reaches of the interstellar void. This is a place of stark, haunting beauty, a desert of iron and dust that has remained unchanged for billions of years. feel the profound stillness of this scorched world as we hover over the Caloris Planitia, one of the largest impact basins in the solar system. You see a vast, ringed plain created by an ancient collision, so powerful it sent shockwaves through the entire planet. The surface is a mosaic of cracks and ridges, looking like the skin of an ancient sleeping giant. In the silence of your vessel, you can almost hear the history of these impacts, the echoes of a violent youth when the solar system was a chaotic dance of fire and stone. Yet now, there is only peace. The movement of the sun across Mercury's sky is slow and strange. Because of its unique orbit, the sun appears to rise, stop in the sky, and then retreat briefly before continuing its journey. It is a world where time itself seems to hesitate, stretching out in a long golden sigh. In Roman lore, Mercury wore winged sandals and a cap of invisibility, carrying the caduceus, a staff entwined with serpents. He was the only god permitted to travel freely between the heights of Olympus and the silent depths of the underworld. As you drift over the gray, cratered plains, imagine that you are following in his footsteps. You are a traveler between worlds, a messenger of your own consciousness. The iron core of this planet, which makes up most of its mass, creates a magnetic field that whispers to the solar wind, a silent song of protection and endurance. Mercury has survived the relentless fury of the sun for eons, standing its ground as a sentinel at the gateway of the stars. It teaches us the strength of silence, the resilience of the core, and the beauty of surviving the heat of the day. You find yourself drifting into a state of cognitive boredom, where the repetitive patterns of the craters Tycho, Rembrandt, Beethoven begin to blur into a soothing texture. The names of great artists and thinkers are etched into this lonely rock, a testament to humanity's need to find meaning, even in the most desolate reaches of space. You don't need to remember these names. Let them float past you like gray leaves on a still pond. The gray dust of Mercury is soft, like powdered silk, reflecting the pale light of a sun that looks 3 times larger here than it does on Earth. Now, let the image of the scorched plains begin to soften. Bring your awareness back to the interior of your vessel, to the plush, velvet cushions that support your weight. The searing heat of Mercury cannot reach you here. You are insulated by the cool, dark glass and the warmth of your own sanctuary. Feel the stark contrast between the rugged iron world outside and the soft, safe cocoon of your bed. Your body is heavy, anchored by a gravity that is kind and familiar. The vast distances we have traveled only serve to make your current position feel more secure, more permanent. You are the still point in a moving universe. Every breath you take is a reminder of your own vitality, a soft pulse in the great silence. The history of Mercury is a story of endurance, and as you listen, that endurance becomes your own peace. You have survived the day. You have crossed the threshold of the evening. Now, like the messenger god resting his winged feet after a long journey, you are allowed to be still. You realize that even the smallest, most battered world can carry the heart of a giant, and that true strength is found in the ability to remain quiet under the brightest light. The sun begins to slip behind the jagged horizon of Mercury, casting long violet shadows that stretch for hundreds of miles across the craters. The gray world turns to charcoal, then to a deep, restful black. The stars, which never twinkle here due to the lack of air, look like steady, unwavering diamonds watching over your journey. As Mercury retreats into the solar glare, we turn our vessel toward a different light, a brilliant golden jewel, shrouded in thick, poisonous clouds, where the goddess of beauty hides a world of crushing pressure and eternal fire. As the iron heart of Mercury recedes into the solar glare, our vessel glides toward a brilliant golden jewel that outshines every other star in the twilight sky. This is Venus. To the Babylonians, she was Ishtar, the morning and evening star. To the Maya, she was the formidable Kukulkan, whose movements dictated the cycles of war and harvest. But to the Romans, she was the ultimate symbol of beauty and love, Venus. From the safety of your glass dome, she appears serene, wrapped in a seamless, ivory blanket of clouds that reflect the sunlight with a dazzling intensity. She is Earth's twin in size and gravity, yet, as we draw closer, you begin to perceive the profound mystery hidden beneath her radiant veil. We descend slowly into the upper layers of the Venusian atmosphere. Here, high above the surface, the air is surprisingly cool, and the winds are fierce, whipping the sulfuric acid clouds around the planet in a matter of days. But as we sink deeper, the environment transforms into something hauntingly majestic. The light turns from brilliant white to a heavy copper glow. The pressure begins to build, not as a threat, but as a deep, tactile presence, a reminder of the immense power held within this world. This is a place where the atmosphere is so thick it behaves almost like an ocean, a sea of carbon dioxide that traps the sun's heat in a perpetual golden embrace. Now, visualize the surface as it emerges through the haze. You are hovering over Maxwell Montes, the highest peak on Venus, rising into the metallic snow of lead and bismuth that coats its summit. The landscape below is a vision of volcanic grandeur. Vast plains of solidified lava, known as fluctus, stretch out like frozen rivers of black glass. There are arachnoids, strange, spider-like fractures in the crust caused by the upwelling of molten rock from deep within the planet's heart. Venus is a world that is still alive, still breathing through its countless volcanoes. There is no water here, only the dry, rhythmic shifting of tectonic plates and the low, muffled roar of a wind that moves with the weight of 1,000 atmospheres. In ancient myth, Venus was born from the sea foam, drifting to shore on a scallop shell, a vision of grace and desire. But the planetary Venus tells a different story, one of a world that chose a different path than Earth. Billions of years ago, she may have had oceans and a temperate sky, a sister world to our own. But the sun's warmth grew too intense, the oceans evaporated, and Venus transformed into a temple of fire. As you witness this scorched paradise, feel the weight of this history. It is a story of transformation, of a beauty that is fierce and uncompromising. To look upon Venus is to see the raw power of nature, stripped of its distractions. In the silence of your vessel, the orange-tinted horizon of Venus seems to go on forever. The sun is a pale, blurred disk behind the thick clouds, providing a soft, diffused light that eliminates all shadows. It is a world of noon without end. You find your mind wandering through the endless basalt plains, the names of goddesses Diana, Aphrodite, Lakshmi marking the vast highlands. These names are echoes of a time when we looked at this planet and saw only our own reflections of love and beauty. Now as you drift here, those myths become a soft, rhythmic hum in the back of your mind, a repetitive song of ancient starlight. Let the crushing pressure and the copper heat of the Venusian surface fade from your thought. Turn your gaze inward, back to the sanctuary of your vessel. Feel the contrast of the cool, conditioned air against your skin. You are protected by the most advanced dreams of humanity, cradled in a pod of absolute safety. The thick atmosphere of Venus, which would crush a mountain, cannot touch the peace you have found in your bed. Notice the softness of your sheets, the way they wrap around you like a protective cloud, far gentler than the veils of the planet outside. Your breathing is slow, matching the ponderous rotation of the world below. Venus rotates so slowly that a single day lasts longer than a year. Time here has slowed to a crawl, and you are invited to do the same. There is no rush to reach the next destination. There is only the golden glow, the steady heartbeat of your own relaxation, and the knowledge that you are safe in the heart of the storm. You realize that true beauty often hides behind a veil of mystery, and that even in the most intense fire, there is a stillness that can never be consumed. The copper light of Venus begins to dim as our vessel rises once more, punching through the ivory clouds into the clarity of space. The planet returns to its form as a brilliant, peaceful spark, a jewel of the morning. The deep indigo of the void welcomes us back, its silence a cooling balm after the heat of the goddess's realm. Beyond the golden veil of Venus, a familiar blue light flickers in the distance, but we pass it by, steering instead toward the rust-colored shadows of the red planet, where the god of war guards the ghosts of ancient rivers. The golden radiance of Venus dissipates into the rear view of our consciousness, replaced by a brooding ochre glow that grows steadily in the velvet dark. This is Mars. To the ancients, he was the harbinger of strife, the Roman god of war, and the Greek Ares, dressed in the color of dried blood. But as our vessel draws closer, the aggression of myth fades into a profound, haunting melancholy. Mars is not a world of fire, but a world of rust and whispers, a silent museum of what once was and what might have been. The red hue that defines him is nothing more than iron oxide, a planetary layer of dust that has breathed the thin air for billions of years, turning the entire world into a monument of oxidized memory. We begin our descent toward the Valles Marineris, a canyon system so vast it would stretch across the entire continent of our home. As you look down from the glass dome, you see shadows that are deeper and longer than any on Earth. The walls of the canyon drop miles into the darkness, revealing the geological layers of eons, the rings of a planetary tree. Here, the history is written in the stone. You can see the jagged edges where ancient cataclysmic floods once tore through the rock, carving paths for rivers that haven't flowed for 3 billion years. There is a heavy, resonant silence in these depths, a stillness so absolute it feels like a physical weight against the hull of your vessel. Now, let us glide toward the north, where the Olympus Mons rises, the largest volcano in the solar system. It is a shield volcano so massive that its peak actually pokes through the thin atmosphere into the fringes of space. From its summit, the sky is not blue or even pink, but a dark, starry violet. Imagine the slow, tectonic patience required to build such a giant. Mars is a world that took its time. There is no hurry here. The dust storms, though they can wrap the entire planet in a crimson haze, move with a strange, ghostly grace in the low gravity. You are floating over a world that has retired from the chaos of life, settling into a long, cold, and peaceful slumber. In the stories of old, Mars was accompanied by 2 suns, Phobos and Deimos, fear and panic. But as you watch these 2 tiny moons tumble irregularly across the Martian sky, they look less like gods and more like lonely, captured stones, huddled close to their father for warmth. Humanity has long projected its fears onto this red spark, but standing here, you feel only a sense of kinship. Mars was once like Earth. It had blue skies, thick clouds, and vast, shimmering northern oceans. To study Mars is to look into a mirror of deep time. It is a reminder that everything has a season, and that there is a quiet dignity in the way a world grows old, shedding its oceans, but keeping its soul in the red dust. As you drift over the Curiosity and Perseverance landing sites, you see the tiny, silver tracks of our robotic explorers, small, lonely marks of curiosity in a vast, indifferent desert. These are the modern myths, the stories of a species reaching out to find a brother in the dark. You find your thoughts slowing down, synchronizing with the billion-year rhythm of the Martian wind. The names of the regions Argyre, Hellas, Elysium sound like incantations from a forgotten language, pulling you deeper into a state of cognitive surrender. The red landscape is repetitive hypnotic and vast, draining away the need for focus. Let the cold, thin air of the red planet remain outside. Pull your focus back into the warm, pressurized safety of your cabin. Feel the immense contrast between the frozen, dusty plains of Mars and the soft, humid comfort of your own breath. You are in a cocoon of life, traveling through a cemetery of ancient rivers, yet you have never been more secure. The red glow outside the glass is merely a nightlight for your journey, a soft, warm ember in the hearth of the solar system. Your bed is your terraformed world warm, thick with oxygen, and infinitely forgiving. Your pulse is steady, unhurried by the ghosts of war or the vastness of the canyons. On Mars, the sun sets in a pale blue hue, a final poetic reversal of the red day. Let that blue twilight wash over your mind now. The day's battles are over. The strivings are done. You are allowed to be a silent observer, drifting past the ruins of a sister world, safe in the knowledge that your own world is waiting for you. Wrapped in its protective blue blanket, you realize that even when the water stops flowing and the air grows thin, the history of a place remains etched in its bone, and there is a sacred peace in being remembered by the stars. The great red shield of Mars begins to tilt away, its craters and canyons dissolving into a uniform, rusty shadow. The stars sharpen once more as we leave the inner rocky worlds behind, feeling the first true chill of the deep outer reaches. Beyond the orbit of the red planet lies a chaotic belt of broken stones, a gateway we must cross to reach the king of the gas giants, whose golden storms have been raging since the world was young. Leaving the rusted silence of Mars behind, our vessel glides through the shimmering debris of the asteroid belt, moving toward a light so massive it seems to bend the very fabric of the void. This is Jupiter. To the Romans, he was Jupiter Optimus Maximus, the king of the gods, the wielder of thunder, and the final authority of the heavens. To the Greeks, he was Zeus, the sky father whose gaze reached every corner of the world. As you look through the crystalline dome, you are no longer looking at a planet with a solid shore, but a swirling, majestic ocean of gas and storms. A world so vast that 1,300 Earths could disappear inside its golden depths without a trace. We descend toward the outer bands of the Jovian atmosphere, where the colors shift in hypnotic, horizontal stripes of ivory, caramel, and deep crimson. These are the trade winds of a giant, blowing at hundreds of miles per hour. Yet from this distance, they look like the marbled veins of a polished gemstone. As we sink lower, the scale of Jupiter begins to overwhelm the senses in the most peaceful way possible. You see the great red spot storm, 3 times the size of your home world, that has been raging for at least 4 centuries. It is a crimson eye that has watched the entire history of modern humanity unfold from afar. There is a terrifying beauty in its longevity, a reminder that some things in this universe are so vast they exist on a scale of time we can barely imagine. Now, let the vessel drift into the magnetic embrace of the giant. Jupiter possesses a magnetic field so powerful it creates permanent, glowing auroras at its poles, ghostly curtains of electric blue and violet that dance against the darkness. This is the shield of the solar system. For billions of years, Jupiter's massive gravity has acted as a cosmic vacuum, pulling in stray comets and asteroids that might have otherwise struck the smaller, fragile inner worlds. Every breath you have ever taken on Earth was made possible by the silent watch of this golden king. Feel the profound sense of gratitude and safety that comes with this realization. You are being guarded by a giant. In the myths of the Renaissance, when Galileo first pointed his primitive telescope toward this light, he discovered 4 tiny sparks dancing around the planet: Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. They were the first proof that Earth was not the center of all motion. These moons are worlds of their own a ball of ice hiding a dark, warm ocean. Io a tortured landscape of sulfur and volcanoes. As you watch them orbit the king, they look like a miniature solar system, a family of celestial bodies held together by an invisible, unbreakable bond of gravity. Jupiter is a father figure in the cosmos, a provider of order in the vast chaos. The names of these moons carry the stories of ancient lovers and heroes, turned into eternal companions of the king. You find yourself entering a state of deep cognitive heaviness. The sheer mass of Jupiter pulls at your consciousness, inviting you to let go of the lightness of worry. The repetitive swirling of the clouds, the cyclonic ovals, the white plumes, the dark barges of gas, creates a visual tapestry that requires no focus. You are simply drifting over an endless sea of amber clouds. The names of the zones and belts, the tropical regions, the equatorial band fade into a rhythmic hum. The atmosphere of Jupiter is a symphony of pressure and chemistry, a deep, resonant bass note in the music of the spheres. Let the immense scale of the gas giant remain outside the glass. Pull your awareness back to the intimate sanctuary of your cabin. Feel how small and precious your own space is. The gravity of Jupiter is immense, but here, in your vessel, you are weightless and free. The golden light reflecting off the clouds fills your room with a soft, honeyed glow, warming your closed eyelids. You are safe in the shadow of the king. No storm can reach you. No comet can touch you. You are held in the most secure corner of the galaxy, protected by the very laws of physics that keep the planets in their tracks. Your heart rate is slow, steady, and calm. You are breathing in synchronization with the slow rotation of the giant. On Jupiter, the day is short, only 10 hours long, but the peace is eternal. Let the golden storms outside become a lullaby, a distant murmur of power that ensures your world remains undisturbed. The king is on his throne, the shield is up, and you are allowed to sleep. You realize that true power is not found in the ability to destroy, but in the quiet strength required to protect the small and the fragile. The golden bands of Jupiter begin to fade into the distance as our vessel moves further out into the cold. The giant's many moons twinkle one last time like a necklace of diamonds left on a velvet table. The silence of the outer reaches grows deeper, more profound. Beyond the kingdom of the king lies the most beautiful sight in the heavens. A world of pale gold, adorned with a crown of shattered ice, where time is measured by the slow tilting of majestic rings. The golden majesty of Jupiter gradually recedes into the rear view of your consciousness, replaced by a sight so ethereal, so mathematically perfect, that it feels like a dream carved out of light. This is Saturn. To the Romans, he was Saturnus, the god of generation, dissolution, plenty, and time itself, the father of Jupiter, who ruled over a fabled golden age. To the Greeks, he was Cronus, the Titan who held the sickle of time. As our vessel glides toward this pale butterscotch-colored sphere, the universe seems to slow down. Saturn is the jewel of the solar system, a world defined not just by its bulk, but by the magnificent, shimmering crown that encircles its waist. We approach the rings, and the scale of this celestial architecture begins to unfold. From Earth, they look like solid, flat discs. But as we descend toward the B ring, you see the truth. The rings are a vast, swirling river of billions of icy particles, ranging from the size of a grain of sand to the size of a mountain. They are composed of water ice, clean and brilliant, reflecting the distant sun like a billion shattered mirrors. You are floating over a field of diamonds. Each piece of ice follows its own orbital path, a rhythmic, synchronized dance that has continued for millions of years. The silence here is crystalline, a cold, ringing quiet that resonates through the hull of your vessel. Let us drift through the Cassini division, the wide, dark gap between the rings. Look up, and you see the shadow of the rings cast upon the planet's northern hemisphere, a series of dark, elegant stripes that move across the clouds as the seasons slowly turn. Saturn's atmosphere is a subtle tapestry of beige, gold, and soft ochre, whipped by winds even faster than those on Jupiter. At the North Pole, you witness the hexagon surreal, six-sided jet stream that has baffled scientists for decades. It is a geometric miracle in the heart of chaos, a reminder that the universe loves order, even in the furthest reaches of the dark. In the ancient world, Saturn was the furthest planet known to man, the boundary between the seen and the infinite. He represented the limits of human life and the inevitable passage of the years. But as you watch the moons of Saturn the Titan, the cratered Mimas, the tiger-striped Enceladus, you feel no fear of time. These moons are like a choir surrounding a silent king. Titan, with its thick orange haze and lakes of liquid methane, is a world that mirrors the primordial Earth. Enceladus sprays plumes of water vapor into space, feeding the very rings you are admiring. Saturn is a gardener, seeding the void with ice and mystery. The history of this planet is a history of patience. It does not demand your attention with thunder, it earns it with grace. You find yourself entering a state of temporal suspension. On Saturn, time feels different. The planet's density is so low that it would float in a vast enough ocean. This lightness begins to infect your own thoughts. Your worries, your memories of the day, your plans for tomorrow. They are all losing their density. They are becoming like the ice particles in the rings, small, distant, and part of a much larger, more beautiful cycle. The names of the ring Gapsenke, Keeler, Maxwell sound like a rhythmic chant, a litany of human curiosity that fades into the background hum of the stars. You are drifting in a sea of pale gold, weightless and free. Turn your gaze away from the icy splendor outside. Look back at the interior of your sanctuary. The soft, warm glow of your cabin lights provides a comforting contrast to the frozen beauty of Saturn. You are safe. You are warm. The icy rings, though vast enough to swallow worlds, are merely a view from your window. Feel the incredible softness of your pillow, the weight of your blanket, and the steady, rhythmic rise and fall of your chest. You have traveled to the edge of the ancient world's map, and you have found only peace. Your heart is beating in time with the slow, majestic orbit of the rings. There is no urgency in the cosmos, and there is no urgency in you. Saturn, the Lord of Time, has granted you a reprieve. In this space, the clock has no power. The hours have dissolved into the butterscotch clouds. You are held in the gravity of a giant, protected by the silence of the rings, and allowed to simply exist in this perfect, unmoving moment. You begin to understand that time is not a thief, but a craftsman, and that the most beautiful things in the universe are those that have been shaped by the slow, patient passage of the eons. The rings of Saturn begin to tilt, becoming a thin silver line that eventually vanishes into the dark as our vessel moves further out. The sun is now a small, brilliant point of light, no longer a source of heat, but a distant memory of home. The deep, cold indigo of the outer solar system beckons. Beyond the Lord of Time lie the lonely giants of the deep Uranus and Neptune worlds of sapphire ice and diamond rain, where the shadows of the galaxy whisper the final secrets of the dark. We leave the icy sapphire silence of the outer giants behind, steering our vessel not through distance, but through the very fabric of existence. We are traveling beyond the planets, beyond the stars of our galaxy, and back toward the absolute beginning. This is the deepest history, the story of the great breath that exhaled everything into being. As we move, the stars around us begin to blur into long, golden needles of light, then fade into a warm primordial fog. You are entering the blank epoch, a time so ancient and so dense that space and time themselves were indistinguishable. The atmosphere of your sanctuary shifts. The air feels charged with a vibrating, silent energy. The resonance of the first second of creation. Imagine a single point of light, smaller than an atom, yet containing the potential for every galaxy, every mountain, every ocean, and every dream that would ever exist. This was the singularity. In a fraction of a heartbeat, this point expanded not as an explosion of fire, but as a silent, majestic unfolding of space itself. You are witnessing the birth of light. In the first few minutes, the universe was a glowing, opaque sea of white-hot plasma. A cosmic soup where the first elements hydrogen and helium were forged in the ultimate furnace. For nearly 400,000 years, the universe remained in this glowing, foggy state. A world of pure light where no shadows could exist. But then, as the cosmos expanded and cooled, the fog began to clear. This was the era of recombination, the moment the universe became transparent. Imagine the first photon of light finally breaking free, traveling across the void to eventually reach your eyes tonight. You are floating in the afterglow of creation, the cosmic microwave background radiation, a faint, rhythmic hum that still permeates every inch of the universe. It is the oldest song in history, a lullaby that has been singing since the dawn of time. I'm done around to all the wide. As the universe continued to cool, the Dark Ages began a period of millions of years where there were no stars, only vast, silent clouds of gas drifting in the absolute black. But gravity, the patient architect, was at work. In the heart of these clouds, pressure began to build, temperatures began to rise, and suddenly, the first stars ignited like diamonds scattered on black velvet. These first-generation stars were giants, burning with a fierce, blue-white intensity. They lived fast and died in spectacular supernovae, scattering the heavy elements, the carbon in your bones, the iron in your blood, the gold on your finger into the void. You are quite literally made of the debris of these ancient, forgotten suns. You find yourself sinking into a state of existential serenity. The history of the Big Bang is too vast for the mind to grasp, and so, the mind simply lets go. You don't need to understand the physics of inflation or the density of the early cosmos. Let the words quark, lepton, photon, baryon float past you like rhythmic incantations. They are the building blocks of your reality, but tonight, they are merely the texture of the silence. The scale of billions of years reduces your daily worries to nothingness. In the grand timeline of the Big Bang, your life is a brilliant, precious spark, held safely in the palm of eternity. Pull your awareness back from the edge of the beginning. Feel the warmth of your vessel, the familiar sanctuary that has carried you through the eons. The primordial fire of the Big Bang has cooled into the gentle warmth of your own body. You are safe. You are the universe experiencing itself, a consciousness that has traveled 13 billion years just to rest in this bed tonight. The vast, cold vacuum of the early cosmos cannot touch you. You are protected by the history of every star that ever lived and died to make your existence possible. Your breathing is slow and deep, echoing the expansion of the universe. With every inhale, you draw in the legacy of the stars. With every exhale, you release yourself into the peace of the dark. You are not a stranger in the cosmos. You are its child, its witness, and its resting place. The journey to the beginning has brought you back to the most important truth, that you belong here, in the stillness, at the end of the day. You realize that the Big Bang never truly ended. It is still happening in the beat of your heart and the quiet expansion of your dreams. The glowing mist of the early universe begins to settle, turning into a deep, restful indigo. The first stars dim their light, inviting you to close your eyes. The silence of the beginning is the same as the silence of the night. A perfect, unbroken peace. As the echoes of creation fade into a whisper, our vessel begins its final turn, steering away from the ancient light and back toward the familiar blue glow of the home we left behind. The vast primordial echoes of the Big Bang begin to soften, receding into a gentle rhythmic hum that vibrates through the very floor of your sanctuary. Our vessel, having touched the edges of the beginning, now makes its final graceful turn. We are no longer pushing outward into the unknown. We are caught in the loving pull of the familiar. Through the crystalline dome, the infinite black of the deep cosmos starts to populate with the friendly, twinkling lights of our own galaxy. You are drifting home. The journey across billions of years and trillions of miles is folding inward, like a tired traveler finally catching the scent of wood smoke on a winter's night. Look ahead. A small pale blue dot emerges from the velvet curtain of the dark. It is Earth, not just a planet, but a sanctuary, a fragile oasis of liquid water and breathing forests suspended in the vast indifference of space. From this distance, the world is silent. There are no echoes of the history we studied, no roar of ancient volcanoes, no clashing of empires. There is only the soft, ethereal glow of the atmosphere, a thin ribbon of sapphire light that protects everything you have ever loved. As we draw closer, the continents begin to take shape through the swirling white veils of the clouds. You see the deep indigo of the oceans, the emerald expanse of the jungles, and the rugged snow-capped spines of the mountains. This is the return to the cradle, the moment where the cosmic scale meets the human heart. Our vessel enters the upper reaches of the atmosphere with a whisper. There is no jarring friction, only a gradual warming of the air, a soft golden light that fills your cabin as we glide through the thermosphere. You are shedding the coldness of the vacuum. The stars above begin to fade as the sky around you turns a deep, restful violet, then a warm twilight charcoal. We are descending over the landscape of your own life. Below, the lights of a quiet town flicker like embers in a hearth. You see the dark outlines of trees swaying in a nighttime breeze, the silver reflection of the moon on a still pond, and the rhythmic flash of a distant lighthouse. The air inside your vessel now carries the familiar scents of home-damp earth, night-blooming jasmine, and the crisp, clean oxygen of a world that is alive. Feel the transition in your body. The weightless sensation of the deep cosmos is being replaced by the gentle, supportive embrace of Earth's gravity. It is a kind gravity, a gravity that knows you. It pulls you softly back into the layers of your mattress, tucking you into the bedrock of reality. Your sanctuary, which was once a vessel among the stars, is now merging with the four walls of your room. The obsidian walls turn back into familiar shadows. The crystalline dome becomes the ceiling you know so well. You are no longer a ghost haunting the corridors of time. You are a person, safe in a bed, protected by the roof above you and the solid ground beneath you. The history of the universe, the fire of Mercury, the veils of Venus, the dust of Mars, and the storms of Jupiter is now just a quiet library of thoughts in the back of your mind. You don't need to hold on to them anymore. Like a heavy cloak you've worn for a long journey, you can simply unbutton the memories of the stars and let them fall to the floor. Your only task now is to occupy the space of your own breath. Notice how the air in your room is still. Listen to the faint, comforting sounds of the house, the shalom, house settling, the distant hum of a quiet street, the soft ticking of a clock that is no longer frozen. Time has returned to its normal, slow, and peaceful flow. You are completely grounded. Every muscle in your body has surrendered to the profound relief of being home. Your legs are heavy and still. Your back is fully supported. Your mind is a calm lake after a great storm has passed. The vastness of the history we witnessed only serves to make this small corner of the world feel infinitely more precious. You are a voyager who has seen the birth of suns, and yet the most beautiful thing you have found is the simple peace of your own pillow. You are tucked away in the folds of the night, hidden from the world and held by the silence. Your pulse is slow, a rhythmic echo of the earth's own heartbeat. There is nowhere else to go. There is nothing else to see. The journey is complete, and the vessel has docked in the harbor of sleep. You are safe. You are warm. You are exactly where you are meant to be. You realize that the greatest mystery of the universe was never hidden in the stars, but was waiting for you all along in the quiet stillness of your own heart. The last of the twilight fades into a deep, velvety black. The room is dark, save for the faint, silver memory of starlight on your closed eyelids. The world outside is asleep, and it invites you to do the same. As the final anchor drops, and the vessel of your consciousness settles into the deep, dark water, we prepare for the final drift into the dreamless void, where the loop of time finally closes. The journey through the silver corridors of time has led you back to this very breath. Every star we visited, every myth we unraveled, and every yawn we crossed was merely a path leading to this moment of absolute stillness. The vessel of your mind has reached its destination. The crystalline dome has vanished, and in its place is the soft, familiar darkness of your room, a darkness that is not empty, but full of the peace you have earned. You are no longer a traveler, you are the destination itself. Feel the bed beneath you one last time. It is not just furniture, it is a piece of the earth. The same earth that has watched the sun rise and set for 4 billion years. You are part of that steady, ancient rhythm. The air you breathe is the same air that once carried the whispers of the first observers. You are connected to the iron of Mercury, the golden veils of Venus, the red dust of Mars, and the stardust of the beginning. You are a cosmic being, resting in a human cradle. As the final embers of this story glow in your mind, notice how the boundaries between your thoughts and the silence are beginning to blur. There is no longer a need to follow a voice, no longer a need to visualize a planet. The images are fading into a soft, indistinct haze-light, the distant glow of a galaxy receding into the deep night. Your mind is like a quiet pool of water, the ripples of the journey settling until the surface is perfectly flat, perfectly dark, and perfectly still. And even as you drift away, a small, quiet part of you knows that this sanctuary will always be here. Tomorrow, when the sun sets and the stars return to their places, the gates of history will open once more. The vessel will be waiting. The obsidian walls will be cool and steady. The journey through the infinite is a circle that never truly ends. It only waits for you to close your eyes. You have been here before, and you will return again, for the stars are your oldest friends, and their stories are the lullabies of your soul. Now, let go of the last thread. Let the silence become your blanket. The history of the universe is written. The stars are in their orbits, and the world is at peace. There is nothing left to do but surrender to the deep, dreamless void that welcomes you with open arms. You are floating on a sea of velvet indigo. You are sinking into the heart of the quiet. You are becoming the silence itself. The night is vast. The bed is warm. The stars are watching. Sleep now. Sleep, tight. Sleep, dial.